seconds because we're streaming on 3 different platforms, and I think YouTube is the last one to sync up with them. So it takes about 10-15 seconds. I'll be waiting for a cue from my social media guy to see if I'm live. I can see myself, I'm live over here on YouTube. So, all right, so thank you for logging in. Hello, this is Dr. Khosroabadi, and I am a foot and ankle surgeon, and I am located in Los Angeles, California. I specialize in foot and ankle deformities, and I've been in practice for 15 years. This has become one of my favorite things to do for the past few months. We've been doing live Q&A, and I've always looked forward to getting your questions so I can answer them. And honestly, preparing for these Q&As, it's been a lot of fun, also challenging with me and my camera crew and technical difficulties we've had. We've always tried to make them better. So as you can see, we have upgraded, and I'm sitting somewhere else with better camera and equipment and also microphone. So I have started this few months ago because I wanted to answer questions because I always get these questions on my social media and also emails. So I said, let's do something so I can be live and patients can ask me questions. So I will be reading the questions that people have submitted already, and also people who are already logging in and they have questions that I can answer those. So I'll be watching over here and making sure if there's any questions popping up. I will go through the questions that's already been submitted. So once we answer those, and if you have time, I will take questions live on my screen. So I'm going to tell you one thing. There is an exciting news at the end of this Q&A. So I will be telling you as a very, very good news. We're announcing something big. So I'm going to announce that at the end. So stay tuned. Trust me, it's worth watching it to the end. It's going to be something big. So without further ado, let's start. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I've been working on a minimally invasive bunion procedure that I've trademarked called AMI bunion procedure, advanced minimally invasive bunion procedure. It's my own trademark procedure. I've been doing it for the past 6, maybe 7 years now, over 500 cases. I've published a paper on it. So I'll be answering you questions about that procedure, and also one of my other procedures that's very close to my heart, Brachymeditarcia. Metatarsal lengthening has been something that I've been doing for the past 15 years since I've been out of the fellowship. And seeing those transformations on these young ladies has been very eye-opening, very humbling, and kudos to some of these support groups that are helping these young ladies. I see good work being done, so I'm giving back and doing this Q&As to answer those questions. So let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading the questions from my laptop right here. So the first question is, I won't be naming names, so I think it's going to make it too complicated, but is it possible to cure a neglected 10-year-old hairline fracture in ankle, and how? So hairline fracture in the ankle, if it's 10 years old, either it has already healed, because usually fractures heal within the first 8, 10, 12 weeks maximum. So if it has not healed and you still have a hairline fracture, I would definitely get an MRI, make sure the fracture has not healed. If it has not healed, that means it's a non-union, meaning the bone has not united. So there is an issue at that point. So we have to get an MRI, make sure it's not healed. And if you have pain and if you're symptomatic, we can address that. How do we do it? We have to go in and reopen that fracture and freshen up the fracture edges, and then fix it with a screw or external fixation or staples, something to put it back together so that way it can heal. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if you do have that fracture hairline. I don't see how a fracture has not healed in 10 years unless it's a non-union. I don't know how you would be walking on a non-union for 10 years. So maybe further investigation is needed. Thanks for the question, by the way. So the next question, it says, I'm very happy because you are from Iran. That's awesome. Like, I had to read that. Well, I'm very happy that you're happy, because it's all about being happy, honestly. Like, thanks for dropping that comment. So I appreciate it. I am from Iran. I was born there, and I moved here when I was 18. And I lived in Germany for about 4 years. So next question is, do you recommend removing both bunions at the same time or separate times? Okay, very good question. I've always had that question asked. To me, it's better to do it one at a time. It feels like patients recover a lot faster, and they're more mobile. If you do both bunions, even though I do my minimally invasive bunion procedure, they're able to walk on it the next day. For some reason, both feet are sore. So being able to, not being able to put complete weight on one foot and go about your day, it makes the patients not being as mobile. And if you're not getting around as much, I am a big believer in your mental health. So if you're sitting home, you're not moving much, you're on a wheelchair, or you're in bed and it's hard for you to get around, somehow your healing is not as good, your mood is not as good, your body's not responding well. I'm a big believer to do them separately. Have I done them at the same time? Yes. I reserve that for patients who come from different countries. I've had patients from China, Australia, New Zealand, England. So those patients come and they don't want to go back and forth. So they're like, I'm here for 4 to 5 weeks. I'm gonna get them both done. So on those cases, I do both of them at the same time, because the patients are willing to stay here, and they have already taken that into consideration, that they're gonna be doing this and they're not mobile. But I do prefer doing them separately. I think patients do a lot better. Plus, once you do one foot, the other foot, for some reason, becomes easier. Your body knows what to expect. It knows what kind of trauma it's coming, so it becomes less painful, and you just know how to deal with it better. So I'm a big believer in one foot at a time. So next question is, what exercises can I do to prevent my feet from getting more squished together? Okay, so I think what she meant by that is, she has a bunion, and she's asking me what she do to prevent this bunion from getting worse. That's actually what I'm getting from this question. If I'm understanding the question right, to me, exercises help. Maybe toe separators, all those things help, but it does not treat the underlying cause. It's kind of like wearing glasses. Like, as long as you wear your glasses, you can see perfectly. And as long as you do those exercises and put toe spacers, and your foot is not as squished, like you said, you will be less symptomatic, you will have less pain and more comfortable. But as soon as you take those things off, it's back to normal. They're not gonna cure the issue. So they're not gonna solve the problem. They're just a Band-Aid. So I don't usually recommend anything like that to basically cure the issue or treat it. But if you having painful day, you can basically use those things, exercises or toe spacer, to make it less painful for that day or following day. Next question, is the bone graft permanent, or is there another procedure needed? Okay, so not sure if I understand it correctly, but so the bone graft is actually a bone from a bone bank. So it's from a cadaver lab. It used to belong to a human. And what they do is they take these pieces out, they process them, and they take all the living cells out of it. So it becomes a scaffolding. So when I take that and put it in someone's foot, it takes about probably 2, 3, sometimes 4 months to completely become the patient's bone. So it's a scaffolding, and your own cells would basically grow into it. And once the blood supply is reestablished, your bone starts becoming part of your foot. So when you're looking at it at 3 or 4 months, you're going to start seeing the bone graft the color, the consistency, everything starts changing. And at some point, that bone will become your own bone, and you won't be able to tell that it was a bone graft at any point. So to answer that question, yes, it is permanent because it becomes part of your foot or part of your bone, and there is no other procedure needed to do anything. The only other procedure is needed when I put the bone graft in. There is the plates and screws that I put on top to hold the bone graft in there. So one procedure could be done to take those plates and screws out, but not necessarily needed at all times. So there are some patients that they don't mind having the screws and plates in there, so we just leave them in there. Patients who want to get them removed, we get them removed. But the bone graft becomes a part of your body. It would be just like your own bone. All right, so next question. Can you do the third and fourth toe lengthening at the same time? Yes, that's done all the time. I do that all the time with the use of external fixation or bone grafting. It is better to do it actually at the same time because most often these bones are right next to each other. I have actually done one block of bone graft, putting it at the base of both toes and lengthening them at the same time. So I definitely recommend doing them at the same time. It is definitely beneficial to do it at the same time. No need to go back and do one at a time. All right, so next question. Having my surgery tomorrow with fixation, when would I take shower and should I cover it as cast? Okay. So I think what this person is asking, they're going to have metatarsal lengthening with the external fixation, and they're asking me if they should get the external fixation wet or not, or can they take shower with it. So there's two schools of thoughts. There's some surgeons who let the patients live their normal life, to say take a shower, do what you have to do, and after the shower, make sure your external fixation gets dry. Maybe use some cloth and maybe a blow dryer on warm to make sure the moisture is gone, and then you can go about your days. There are some surgeons that they don't want your foot to get wet, the external fixation to get wet. I believe I leave it up to the patient. I'm okay with both. If the patient wants to get it wet, that's fine. I mean, the external fixation is going to be on your foot for 4.5 months. So are you going to not get your foot wet for that long? No. I have my patients swimming with external fixation, even the big external fixation, swimming. Actually, the chlorine is kind of good for cleaning around the pins and everything. So you ask your doctor and see what he prefers, and you guys can come up with a plan. But both ways are okay. If you decide not to get it wet, I would wash your foot separately with soap and water and a cloth, and just wash the foot and wash around the pins. So you can do that. All right, let's get some water. There's a lot of questions, so if I'm going too fast because I want to get to as many people as I can. Let's see, and there's some people online waving at everybody. Thanks for logging in, everybody. Thanks for joining. Everyone's waving. Thank you. So next question. Brachy surgery 10 years ago. Finger lifting and stiff. What are your solution? Doctors say cut tendon. Okay. I like it. This patient writes very robotic. I love it. All right. So I assume the patient had the Brachymeditarcia surgery 10 years ago. The toe, I think she said finger, but the toe is lifting and it's stiff. So I think the toe is up and it's stiff. She cannot bend it, or he cannot bend it. And is there any solution? So yeah, I think an X-ray and maybe sometimes an MRI is needed to see what's the cause of it. Is the cause the over lengthening of the metatarsal? Because sometimes when you over lengthen the metatarsal, it automatically starts lifting the toe. So when you over lengthen the metatarsal, by over lengthening, it starts just lifting the toe. So if that's the case, the metatarsal has to be shortened. That metatarsal parabola has to be maintained appropriately. That's why I always tell my patients, I can lengthen your metatarsal, but there is a limit to it. I'm going to lengthen it up to here because after that, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have issues walking on it, and you're going to have a jamming of the joint. At that point, if your toe is still short, which happens to like 40% of the patients because the toe is also short in some cases, then you have a short toe. It's not a short metatarsal. I can lengthen your metatarsal to appropriate length, but if you end up having a short toe and you're still not happy with it, then we can lengthen your toe later. That's a different procedure. But I'm not going to lengthen your metatarsal just to make your toe look better cosmetically, but then you're going to have issues such as this patient. Not sure if that's the case for this patient, but that could be one of the issues. Another issue is when I don't know if you had an external fixation or you had bone grafting, but the tendon has to be stretched. With the external fixation, I put 2 pins in the base of the metatarsal, 2 pins right after the fracture that I'm making, and then 2 pins in the toe. The reason for that is when we're lengthening everything. We're lengthening the tendons as well. So we need to make sure that everything gets lengthened, even the tendons get lengthened. So if that doesn't happen and you're just lengthening the metatarsal, most often what happens is the toe starts going up and the joint starts jamming. So that could be very well the cause of this patient's issue. And for that, again, if the metatarsal is over lengthened, it has to be shortened. And if the tendon has an issue as well, the tendon has to be lengthened. And the capsule has to be also released. So those things have to be addressed. So I don't know exactly what the issue is with this patient. I would be more than happy to look at the x-ray to maybe give my opinion, but it's not just a black and white answer. So hopefully that helped this patient, but that's a very good question because that complication is very common with brachymeditarcia, especially with patients who have been to surgeons who have not done this for a long time. Because trust me, at the beginning of my career, I've run into those issues. So that's why you need to go to surgeons who've been doing this for years and they know what to look out for and exactly how to install the external fixation, how to use the bone graft, because it's not just lengthening the bone. You need to make sure that the foot becomes a functional foot. That's more important than the cosmetic result, in my opinion. Okay, so the next question is, my surgery will be with the local anesthesia. Will I feel like a dentist feeling the drills and stuff? Yeah, exactly. You said it. So when you go to your dentist, they numb it up and your jaw becomes numb and then you don't feel anything. You will still feel the sensation, the vibration, because we cannot take the vibration away by just injecting local anesthesia. So you will have pressure and you will feel the vibration, but nothing else. Pain will be gone. So that's basically my answer. So you won't feel pain. You will still feel someone moving your toe, pressure, and vibration, but that's about it. All right, we're moving pretty nicely. Any tips on balancing work, family, and fitness? Okay, so this is actually, I think, for my Life Limb Fitness channel, but I'm more than happy to get into it just a little bit. But I think this question would be better answered for my Life Limb Fitness channel. I have a channel called Life Limb and Fitness, and I juggle so many different things that I decided that I need to, share that with the world, because everyone asks me, how do you do so many different things? And you still, get your workout in every day. You work. You come up with different procedures, you run a practice, you're at home with your kids running different projects. So, so very, very good question. I think it all comes down to being focused and not wasting time. So I think that's the key. So in my opinion, if you don't waste time, like I don't watch TV. Let's put it this way. I don't watch TV. I don't watch any movies. Barely watch any news. I don't sit down. So the only time that I sit down is when I eat and when I'm playing games with my kids. And maybe at night, very late at night, I just sit down to relax and talk to my wife. So all these other things that you guys are doing, I'm not, you could be watching a movie for 3 hours. I'm not doing those things. So I'm either working out, doing projects around the house, playing with the kids, and running a practice. So basically the best advice I can give you, I would take a pen and a pencil and start recording your entire week and write down exactly what you do. And then go back and look at it and see what can you cut from it and add something else that you care for. Like maybe it's a workout that you cannot get in. Maybe it's a meal plan that you cannot do that you've been wanting to do. Or a project that you have been wanting to do and you haven't been able to get into it. So see what you can carve out and replace it with something else. So that's my best advice. But we can dig into it more when I do a live stream on my Life Limb Fitness channel. That would be a more appropriate question for that. But thank you for the question. And then the next question is what inspired you to become a surgeon? So that's a good question. I've always wanted to be a doctor since I was a little kid. Maybe my mom, she was like saying that, you have to either be a lawyer or a doctor. I grew up in a Persian family, so those are the choices you get. But all jokes aside, I got interested in surgery because I've always been around the house fixing things with my dad. So my dad has always fixed things around the house, and we always took on projects since I was maybe 6, 7. And I've always been right next to him, learning from him, helping him. And then at some point, I realized that I was leading the projects, and he would let me do it. So I started becoming a little better and better and better and better, and started critical thinking. How do I solve a problem? And so I've always loved working with my hands and solving problems and fixing things. So I started thinking, what's better than fixing a person who needs help? So I started looking into different fields, and feet kind of was something that I got interested in because I spent a summer with a family friend of ours who was a podiatrist. So I immediately was drawn into the fact that, he was operating. He had a very good lifestyle as far as he wasn't really on call that much. And I loved the life and work balance that he had. It wasn't too crazy. And it had everything that I wanted. So that's what I got into this field. And it's been serving me well, and I love it. Up until this day, I wake up every morning and I look forward to go to work. And I think that's the key. To be able to be successful at anything, you have to look forward to it. And every morning when I wake up, I do not dread to go to work. Actually, my weeks go by so fast that I always say, what happened to my week? So anyway, so that's how I got into that field. Thanks for the question, though. So someone's asking me how old I am. Okay, so I just turned 50 in December. And my fitness goal was that I would look the best when I turned 50, and I reached that goal. So 5 years ago, I made a goal for myself. I said, in 5 years, I'm going to look better than I did even in my teens and in my 20s. So, and I reached that goal. So, I don't know if I look 50 or not, but I am 50 and 2 months. So there you go. Who inspired you and any role models? So I think for me, I haven't really thought about any role models. As far as athletes, I like Michael Jordan. because he was one of a kind, and he always made sure everybody around him was performing at the highest level, and he expected a lot from people around him. So I like that about him. I like that work ethic that he had. Other role models, I don't honestly know if I have any role models. I've always held very high standard for myself. There are times that it doesn't work for me because I'm so hard on myself. But at the same time, I see that being a biggest factor in all my achievements, because for me, it's never good enough. There's always room to push and room to grow and advance. So good question. I'm going to think about that one to see who's actually my role model. I guess I don't have one yet. All right. Requirements for brachymeditarcia. I don't know if I understand this question. Does that mean, to me, you must have pain and discomfort, and you must have something that's interfering with your day-to-day life. So if you have any of those are good enough reasons or requirements. I think that's what she means, to have the surgery done. There are some patients who have the deformity and they're completely happy with their feet. So that's totally fine. They're actually embracing that. They're embracing the fact that they're different. There are a lot of other deformities out there in the world that people are not wanting to fix. So I think that's what I understood from her question. Requirements, yeah. So hopefully that answered that question. Can you correct clubfoot deformity at the age of 25? Yes. In my opinion, there is never too late to correct any bone deformity, unless you get to the age that your bones are more brittle, and maybe the osteopenia or osteoporosis has settled in, then you cannot really work with the bone. But if your bone quality is good, I don't think it's ever too late to do anything, especially if you're in pain and you have a deformity that you need to address. So having said that, I'm not sure if you've had any procedures in the past. Sometimes I know a 25-year-old must have had maybe 5-6 surgeries till then, and they still haven't had any luck with getting their biomechanics back. So I'm not sure where this gentleman, or I think it's a gentleman, is with his deformity, but it's never too late. 25, it's very young, at least compared to me. All right, so next question. When are you coming to Bahrain? Ew, I've never been to Bahrain. I would love to go to Bahrain. I don't know. If you guys invite me, I will come. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to go to different countries to operate. Jokes aside, you have to be accepted, meaning like you have to be qualified and get the license for that country. They have to verify you. So it's not just like you can just pick up and go and start operating on patients. So it is hard. There are doctors who have done that. Like myself, we go to Nepal. We've all been approved. Me and my team that we go there in Nepal. Me and Dr. Diamiko, we take a team to Nepal every year, and we've all been pretty much licensed for the time that we're there, verified. So it's hard to operate in different countries. So we do a charity work over there, but still, they have to make sure that you're not harming the patient, so you can't just go there and operate it. But I would love to go to Bahrain, hopefully one day. So I have a lot of questions for brachymeditarcia, but in Spanish, please. Ooh, my Spanish is not that good. No bueno. I mean, I understand a little bit of Spanish, like medical Spanish, but not to the level that I can converse with someone about their issues. But we have our patient care coordinator, Claudia. She's fluent in Spanish. So if this patient is interested, we can get on the phone and she can translate for me and I can help her. All right, thanks for the question though. Stem cells, bone stimulation remedy, can anyone get it, or any severe cases, are you recommending it? So stem cell and bone stimulation are good remedies, yes. But for which condition? I don't know exactly what this patient's issue is. Mostly what I use stem cells is for maybe for bone growth and also for tissue injuries such as tendons, regenerate tendons. If you have any injuries to the tendon tears, inflammation, stem cells work. They're very expensive and the insurance companies don't pay for it. Excuse me. So if you're using stem cells, it's a purely out-of-pocket expense, and it can get expensive, $2,000 to $3,000 per treatment. Bone stimulation does work. There have been many papers, articles on it. It depends on what stage we are as far as the bone healing. It can or cannot work. So I don't know exactly what the issue is with this patient, but both of those work. And anyone can get it, yes. Bone stimulation, a bone stimulator is approved by an insurance company. I believe a fracture or any kind of a bone that has been broken and it has not healed for 2 months can be approved for a bone stimulator. So hopefully that answered that question. Next question. Do you do bone graft for Brachymeditarcia if we need 15 centimeter? That's a lot. So hopefully, I think the patient means 15 millimeter because 15 centimeter it's huge. It's even bigger than the metatarsal. I think she means 15 millimeter. Yes, I have done bone grafting. I believe I'm the only one that I've done bone grafting up until 2.2 centimeters. And that's really, really the highest that I've seen. I don't think anyone has done it more than 1.2, 1.3 centimeter. Someone that I know, at least, or someone that has published it. But I have pushed the limits up to 2.2 centimeter, and I've gotten great results. The bone can heal. Soft tissue becomes a little more difficult. But I have created some techniques how to handle the soft tissue and how to handle the tendons so we can get better results. I've even created a joint spacer that I put in the joint so when I lengthen the bone, we don't jam the joint. So that's something that I have created also to give a better outcome. So yes, I have. If you mean 1.5 centimeter, yes. Up to 2.2 centimeter I have done. Is there surgery that can be done to prevent callus formation? So this is a tricky question because I don't know where the callus is. Depending on where the callus is, yes. If it's on the bottom of the foot, like at the ball of the foot, there are procedures that we can do to take the pressure off, but it requires a bone cut and shifting of the bone to make sure that the pressure is evenly distributed. Most often, a callus under part of the foot is because there's extra pressure in there, increased pressure. So we need to alleviate the pressure. So if it's on the top of the toes, again, we have to straighten out the toe because sometimes the toes are hammered. That's why we call them hammer toe. And they start rubbing against the top of the shoe and it creates the callus. So those are the only ones that comes to my mind, but I still have to see the foot and see where the issue is to answer these questions more appropriately. Okay, next question. What kind of operation would you suggest a grown person with clubfoot deformity? Again, it's a difficult question to answer because I don't know how severe the deformity of the clubfoot is. There are times that the foot is just turning. There are times that the foot is turning and the ankle is turning as well. And there are times that the ankle, the foot, and the front of the foot are all turning. So I don't know exactly, but it can all be corrected. However, you need to go to a very skilled surgeon who's dealt with clubfoot before and is able to get this corrected for you, because it's a very lengthy process and it's a very tedious process, and the bone cuts, they have to be in the right place. If they're not, your deformity will not get corrected. I definitely recommend doing the external fixation when it comes to adult clubfoot, even for pediatric, because you can manipulate the bone in any direction you want, and the results are far less superior than just one stage, like taking a wedge out or putting a bone graft in. So I definitely recommend external fixation, but that's what I would recommend. Do you do bone graft for Brachymeditarcia? Oh no, that's the same question twice. Okay, so for Brachymeditarcia fixator, should the incision only be for pins? I noticed some doctors. Okay, this is a very confusing question. For brachy fixator, should the incision only be for pins? I noticed some. Okay, I think I understand what she's talking about. So there are some doctors or some surgeons who only make the incision where the pins go, such as me. I do that. So four incision where the metatarsal is and 2 where the toe is, and then a very tiny incision to cut the bone. That's called minimally invasive procedure for the Brachymeditarcia, to install the external fixation. I think that's the best way to do it and not causing a lot of trauma, and that's what I do. There are some doctors who open it, like big incision, and then install the external fixation. I think that's not good. I would definitely not recommend that. If you are a surgeon who deals with bone lengthening, you should be able to do this under fluoroscopy, which is live x-ray, and not have to open the foot. Because once you open the foot, you kind of destabilize everything, and just there's no reason to do that. So I definitely recommend not opening the foot and then installing the external fixation. The next question is for Brachymeditarcia, is joint locking only an occurrence in one-step surgery or both? No, it's in both. So as I was explaining before, if the toe is not included in the external fixation and you're lengthening the metatarsal, you're gonna jam the joint, and you're gonna make the toe go up, just like that very first few questions that we had. The patient had a joint jamming and the toe was going up. So that can happen with external fixations all the time. It can even go down. It can go to the side. So once you start lengthening, that toe can go anywhere. That's why it has to be included in the external fixation. Even if you just put a pin in here, it's not good enough. You have to include the toe in the external fixation. But with the bone grafting, it can happen too. But I have gotten around it by creating my joint spacer that I've come up with. I put a joint spacer in the joint. I lengthen the bone in one stage, and then about 4 to 6 weeks later, I take that joint spacer out. So now I have created a space and the joint does not jam. So I have gotten around that. But with the bond stage, that was the issue. So I have solved that issue since then. What made you want to become a specialist? I think we went over that, so I'm not going to repeat that. Best cream for heating the cooling stiffness. Okay. I actually don't know if there is any cream that will... I know BioFreeze creates some cooling effect. I don't know if it really cools. To me, if you want to cool the skin, use ice. Have some sort of a barrier, maybe a paper towel, and put some ice in a Ziploc bag and ice the area. And if you really want to heat it, then same thing with just, again, a barrier, and then maybe get a towel, wet it, put it in the microwave, and then make sure it's not too hot, and then apply it to the skin. I don't think you need a cream for it. I don't know a cream that does that. If you guys do know it, let me know. Best way to heal tissue on the bottom of foot. Very broad question. I don't know what kind of healing? Are we talking about an ulcer? Are we talking about a cut? Are we talking about a fissure? So it needs to be a little more specific for me to answer that question. I'm sorry. Can a bunion prior worked on be fixed or improved by another doctor? Yes. So I want to say 20% of my practice is dedicated to revisions, whether it's Brachymeditarcia that has failed by other doctors or bunion that has failed. I just recently had a patient who came to me and then decided to go to South America to have the surgery done. It was a bunionectomy, but both feet. And now she's back to me because not only her bunion is not gone, but now she has huge scars with inflammation, swelling. I mean, very unhappy patient. I feel so bad for her. So she's back to me, so I'm gonna have to fix that. So yes, it can be done, but make sure that the surgeon you're going to does revisions, because revisions require a lot more finesse, requires a lot more knowledge and skill, because now the foot is not in the original state. There is a lot of scar tissue that you have to consider working around it. There might be a hardware, like this patient has 2 screws and it was done in South America. I don't even know what kind of screws she has in there for me to go and remove it because it's in my way. So now I have to figure out a way to remove those screws or work around these screws to fix her bunion. So you need to go to someone who knows what they're doing and they've done revisions before, because it's not as easy as we call it the virgin foot. So yes, it can be done for sure. As a college student who wants to have a surgery but financial stable, what do you suggest? To have a surgery but financial stable. Okay. I don't understand that question. I guess she or he means that they want to have surgery but they can't afford it. I don't know. I'm just going to skip that question. I'm not going to guess what that person meant. But if you're listening, please rewrite that question. I would be glad to answer that question. I'm sorry. I don't want to go around circles and not answer your question. I don't know what you meant by that. I plan to have my Brachymeditarcia surgery. What are some tips you can give me before doing this? So the best thing I can tell you is go to someone, a surgeon who has done this multiple times. It's not just I've done this in the past once or twice. I'm talking about hundreds of times. The reason I'm saying that, the complications with Brachymeditarcia, it's bad. Meaning you don't want to end up with a foot that does not function. We all have complications. I have complications. Top surgeons, that are my colleagues. We've been doing Brachymeditarcia surgeries. We all run into complications, but are we able to get around them and fix it? You don't want to go to someone who won't know how to handle their complications, because it all comes with experience. And doing this for the past 15 years, complications occur, we get around them and we fix them. So go to someone who's talented, who's done this before, and who you feel comfortable with. Most of us, when we meet someone and we talk to them, we know if we can trust them or not. So, and also get second opinions. However that person is telling you that they want to fix that deformity, get another opinion. It does not hurt to get 2-3 opinions. Just like anything else, if you were to have a brain surgery, you would want to get a couple of opinions, and this is the same thing. You're going to be walking on your foot for the rest of your life, so you want to make sure you go to the right person. So that would be my top advice to anyone who wants to have any kind of a foot surgery. So get second opinions and make sure the person you're going to has enough expertise and it's a good surgeon. So those are my advice. Next question. High arch, tight plantar fascia, please help. So patients who have high arches, we call those a cavus foot, meaning the foot looks kind of like a tripod, and they put a lot of pressure on their plantar fascia. I think orthotics would help, but if the orthotics don't help, we have procedures to do that. It's a very involved procedure. I definitely recommend doing it one at a time, but if this patient wants to send me x-rays, I'll be happy to look at them. But there's so many different treatments for a cavus foot. Physical therapy can help. You might want to start there. Not everything can be fixed with surgery. Maybe with just a little bit of physical therapy, stretching the calves, stretching the plantar fascia, and wearing orthotics, that could solve your problem. So start there. Creating a long incision and then stitch around pins, is this merely preference? Okay, I think that's the same person who's asking about opening and installing the external fixation. I already went through that extensively. So next question for Brachymeditarcia, should the incision only be in the... Okay, it's the same question. So I went over that. Okay. So someone asked free consultation. I have something better. You just have to wait. At the end of this Q&A, we have something better than that. So if you listen to the end, you're not gonna want the free consultation. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. So they want a meditation session with Dr. K. Oh, I would love that. So that would be for my Life Limb channel, Life Limb Fitness channel. We are having once a month an interview, and also it's almost like a vlog type of podcast, webinar type of thing that I'm going to be doing different things that I do, playing my handpan, and maybe a meditation session. That would be a good suggestion. So thanks for the suggestion. And then workout with Dr. K. Of course, we work out every day, 5 p.m., even today. It's 4, so I have an hour. Okay, so nail fungus and tincture. I think nail fungus depends on how aggressive it is. Tincture can work. I've seen it work. Tea tree oil can work, but depends on how aggressive it is. If it has occupied the entire nail bed, like the nail is very thick, I think it's gonna have a hard time penetrating through, so it might not work. But if it's very superficial and you see some scaling on the nail and like this whitish flaky material on the nail, you file that and use tincture or tea tree oil or any kind of a over-the-counter anti-fungus, that probably would work. But if it's very involved, none of these topicals would work. Unfortunately, you have to get on Lamisol, which is a 3 months treatment, and a doctor has to follow you. So let's see. So hi doctor, I'm from UAE. How long should I stay in US if I want to fix my bunion? Very good question. So my patients that come from out of the country, I prefer them to stay here at least 3 to 4 weeks. I want to make sure the bone is healing, at least halfway is healing, and there's no issues before you can go back. So 3 to 4 weeks would be good. I've had patients from UAE. I've had patients from, like I said, England, China, England, Canada, bunch of patients from Canada. Also Netherlands. So yeah, they come and stay for 3 to 4 weeks. And on top of that, you're going to be in Cali. Just come during summer. You're going to enjoy the weather. It's beautiful out here. You can go to the beach. So make a vacation out of it, It's going to be fun. How is the COVID business going? So I guess they're talking about me recovering from COVID. So the COVID is going good. I was supposed to get vaccinated the week after I got COVID. And unfortunately, I came down with COVID, but I quarantined. And I think some of you guys who were following me, I was vlogging every night. And I did recover 100%, been working out back to normal, 100% back to normal. Haven't had any issues. So thanks for asking. So everyone is doing good. Can a clubfoot deformity? I think this is a repeated question again. So they're asking about cost of each procedure. So this would be a question that you can ask my patient care coordinator, Claudia. She will give you the breakdown. She might ask you for x-rays because every procedure can be a little different. So we can't just give you a price. Unfortunately, it's not like you go to a shop and you take your car and say how much it would be to fix this. Even then, the mechanics will tell you, like, I have to assess it to make sure it's just one thing or another thing. They can't just give you a price. So the same thing, I have to be able to look at your x-rays and see what's needed, and then we can give you a price if you're an out-of-pocket patient. But most often, if you have insurance, it's all covered. So I'm done with the questions over here, and maybe I'll take a couple of questions from the YouTube. What do you think? Yeah. Okay, and then we'll kind of close it because it's been 50 minutes. we're planning on doing it for 30 minutes. So I'm going to take one, maybe maximum 2 questions, and then we'll have our big announcement. So we have one also here that someone sent us a question. I'm going to read that as well. So patient would like to know about arthrosurface implants for arthritis. So this is the implant that I'm very familiar with from arthrosurface. They have different implants. There is a hemi implant, which is just one side, and there is a total implant, which completely changes the entire joint. It's just kind of like the hip implant, like a total hip or total knee. Arthrosurface has come up with these implants for the arthritis of the big toe joint. So both of them work. You have to meet the criteria. You have to see how advanced your arthritis is and how destructive your arthritis is, how much of the bone is gone, how much healthy tissue and cartilage you have left. That determines what we use. There are times that these implants work beautifully. There are times that they fail. So I think choosing the right patient for the right implant is the most important. There are other procedures that we can do besides replacing the joint. So it would be beneficial if I see the x-rays and I can assess it and see what else is out there. It might be arthrosurface, it might be something else that we can use. So please send your x-rays and I'll be able to assess it and get back to you. Over here, we don't have any questions. Let me go through it right here. So I'll take one question here and one from YouTube. Can the shape of the foot that is tilted, the area of the ankle tilted inward due to flat foot be fixed? Okay, very good. So they're asking, when you have flat feet, very bad flat feet, your ankle your arch kind of collapses and your ankle kind of tilts in, and it looks like your ankle is popping out from the inside. So can that be corrected? Yes. It's called flat foot reconstruction surgery, and it's a very involved surgery. It involves cutting a couple of bones, your heel bone, and also the midfoot has to be cut, and a wedge has to be opened, and then the tendons on this side have to be tightened, and then the calf tendon has to be also elongated to be able to swing everything back. But yes, it can be done. Again, I have to see the x-rays and assess it, but definitely there's a procedure for that. So I'll take one question over here from YouTube. Do you perform foot narrowing in your clinic? And if so, how is it performed? Can your toes be narrowed by the bone and soft tissue reduction? Okay. So it's interesting. I've had a patient who wanted her foot shortened, and I refused that surgery. I think foot narrowing, if the widening of your foot is due to your bunion and your bunionettes, and your foot is wide, yes, once we fix those two, your foot will be narrower. But if you don't have those two and you just want your foot to be narrower, I definitely don't recommend that, because in order to do that, we have to cut some bones and remove some bones and make your foot narrower. And the foot is so complicated and there is so much motion in so many different joints the biomechanics of the foot it's fascinating. Once we start playing around and cutting bones out and taking joints out and all that stuff, your foot will not be functional. You will be in pain for a long time and maybe forever. It would not be a functioning foot. So I definitely do not recommend it if you don't have a big bunion and the bunionette. Do not, if anyone tells you that they can do it, I would definitely advise against it. You're not gonna be happy with the function of your foot. It might look okay, but you don't want to do that. So definitely not recommending that to anyone. So sorry we couldn't get to anyone. I tried to rush through as many questions. I'm so happy that as we had so many questions and so many involvement from everybody. Like I said, I love doing these. It's one of my favorite things to do. So we will have it once a month. So if I haven't answered your questions, I will definitely answer them next time. Please submit your questions because we do those first. If the demand becomes higher, maybe we'll do this twice a month. I know my social media guy over here is going to be like, are you serious? We're going to do this twice a month? But anyways, I love doing it. It gives me a lot of satisfaction to know that you guys are out there listening and I can help you in any way I can. So that brings me to our biggest announcement, and that would be we are in Khosroabadi Institute is giving away a free bunion procedure. So that's our announcement. We're actually giving 3 things away. So we're going to have a lottery. We will announce it. So just stay tuned. You have to be on our social media, Instagram and Facebook, mostly Instagram, right? Yeah. We will give you instructions how to apply for it. It would be a live lottery. We will announce the day, so you have to apply for it. There's not a lot of criteria. All I ask is please make sure you're in great need of a bunion procedure and you don't have insurance and you cannot afford it. I'm doing this to give back to the society. So I want someone who actually really needs it and cannot have it done to benefit from it. So I'm just gonna leave it as that. So if you have insurance or you can afford it, please do not apply for it. Let someone who really needs it win this contest. So we're going to collect the names for a few weeks, and we're going to announce when the deadline is for applying for it. And then we're going to have a live lottery to pick the winner. So that would be our first prize winner. It's going to get a complete bunionectomy done by me, Amy bunionectomy by me, free of charge. If you're from out of state, we cannot help you with anything else. All the details will be in the emails, but this will just cover all your expenses for the surgery itself. So the surgery center, me, anesthesiologist, all the pre and post-op and all that stuff, but nothing as far as travel costs and all that. So I hope you guys are happy with that because that's a big prize to give away. The second winner, so we're going to have 3 drawings. The second prize winner would be 50% off of your out-of-pocket costs. So if you have a deductible or any kind of out-of-pocket expense, we will give you a 50% discount off of that. So that would be the second prize winner. The third prize would go to someone who needs a consultation. So I'm going to do a 30-minute consultation free of charge. I will review your x-ray, MRI, CT scan for any foot and ankle issue, deformity you want to talk to me about. I will give you my 30-minute time, which is worth a lot of money, believe it or not. So those are my my announcements. I hope that you guys are happy. This was great to be able to connect to all of you through all the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. This is the first time that we did this on 3 different platforms. Hopefully it was a success. I think it was. You think it all came out good? Yeah. I think it'll get even better next time. Okay. So we're always trying to make it better. And if you have any comments for us, if you want us to address certain issues, please let us know. Please subscribe and like our channel, and send it to your friends. And we'll be doing this Q&A again in a month. We have the dates on our websites. We have planned it for the next 7-8 months, right? We have set dates that we're doing this.
Every second Tuesday.
Every second Tuesday of the month, we're doing this at 3 p.m. So hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for me, and I hope to see you soon. And God bless you, and thank you. Have a good day.